And the moment they realize they've been found, the math is already done. The boat looks unstoppable. Low profile, razor-sharp bow, twin engines screaming like they're trying to tear free from the transom. On paper, it's a perfect escape machine. Built light, built fast, built to disappear into open water. Cartels call them go-fasts, but that name hides the truth. These boats aren't meant to survive. They're meant to burn out profitably. Every part of it is disposable. The fiberglass hull is thin, just strong enough to survive a few hard runs. The electronics are basic, often modified to scramble signals not to last. Even the engines, powerful as they are treated like single-use tools. The math is simple. If 1 out of every 3 boats makes it through, the operation still wins. Speed isn't protection, it's insurance math. To the crew, it feels different. At full throttle, the hull barely touches the water. The ocean stops feeling like resistance and starts feeling like air. They believe they've outrun consequence itself. That illusion is what keeps them pushing forward, burning fuel at an insane rate, convinced momentum equals safety. But speed doesn't mean freedom. It just means the clock starts ticking faster. Because while the smugglers are watching the horizon, someone else is watching patterns, and patterns don't lie. And that's when the invisible net begins to close. The ocean may look empty, but it isn't. Every wave, every wake, every anomaly is being tracked. Not by eyes, not by luck, but by algorithms designed to catch patterns humans can't see. The boat's course, speed, and timing all triggered alerts before anyone even climbed into a helicopter. It's a quiet net, invisible until it snaps. 3 Coast Guard assets are already in position, moving silently, calculated down to the knot. The crew believes they're in control, weaving through the swells, thinking they have the horizon to themselves. But every turn, every acceleration, every moment of confidence is logged, analyzed, and predicted. The smugglers are running not from people, but from math and physics. By the time the helicopter appears on the skyline, the trap is already complete. What looks like sudden action is actually the final piece of a game that began hours earlier. There is no surprise here for the crew, only inevitability. And once the barrel aligns with the engine, physics will do the rest. The weapon wasn't built for this job. It was designed to punch through concrete, steel, and engine blocks from impossible distances. But someone realized something important. When raw energy meets moving machinery, the laws of physics don't negotiate. They collapse things instantly. The helicopter steadies. Not close, not dramatic, just close enough. 1 round leaves the barrel, and in less time than it takes to blink, everything changes. There's no explosion, no fireball, just a violent interruption of motion. Inside the engine, metal that was spinning thousands of times per minute suddenly isn't. The force doesn't slow it down, it tears it apart. Components shear, fragments ricochet, and rotational balance disappears in a fraction of a second. What was once smooth, controlled power turns into chaos. The boat doesn't stop, it loses its idea of forward. The stern yaws, the bow lurches. Momentum betrays the crew as physics takes over completely. Speed, the one thing they trusted, becomes the enemy. And in that moment, it's already over. Not because of the shot, but because nothing moving that fast survives having its balance ripped away. But stopping the boat is only the beginning. The real damage is what's sitting below deck. The engines may be destroyed, but the real disaster is stacked quietly below deck. 47 bales, each vacuum sealed, each weighing exactly 25 kilograms. Pure product, layered with fiberglass, resin, tarp, and tape, ready for distribution. In raw numbers, the smugglers think of it as inventory. To the Coast Guard, it's a moving mountain of lost revenue. Every kilo tells a story. Wholesale in Colombia, a couple $1,000s. Once it reaches Miami, tens of thousands. By the time it hits the streets in Chicago, the markup multiplies again. The cargo on this single boat? Over $1 million in wholesale value, potentially nearly $50 million on the street.
All gone in minutes. For cartel accountants, it's more than money. 3 months of production from 2 processing labs vanished in a single strike. Weeks of planning, fuel, manpower, risk, evaporated. And the boat? Custom built, reinforced, with engines worth tens of thousands, now a useless pile of metal. The math doesn't lie. Profit margins that once justified these risky runs are wiped out instantly. And while the crew reels from what just happened, the government barely spends a fraction of that to intercept. The cost of fuel, ammunition, and operations pales against the value neutralized. For the smugglers, the loss isn't just financial. It's a brutal lesson. Speed and luck only matter until physics and strategy meet. The engines may be silent, the boat disabled, but the story isn't over. Next comes the law. Once the engines go silent, the outcome is no longer negotiable. The crew is secured, separated, and transported under federal custody. There's no bargaining at sea, no explanations that change the math. The moment the cargo is confirmed, the legal outcome locks in. Under U.S. federal law, trafficking at this scale triggers mandatory minimums that don't bend. The quantity alone pushes the case into the highest category, decades on the table before a judge ever looks at intent. There's no parole system waiting on the other side. The boat itself doesn't go home either. It becomes evidence, then property of the government. Eventually it's stripped, auctioned, or dismantled. The money moves into asset forfeiture accounts that fund the very operations that stopped it. The system feeds itself. Conviction rates in cases like this are nearly absolute. When a vessel is intercepted with product on board, there's nowhere for doubt to hide. The paperwork writes itself. The story ends the same way almost every time. And while these men begin counting years instead of miles, something else is already happening far beyond the horizon. Because the ocean doesn't pause, and neither does the traffic moving across it. For every boat intercepted, 6 more are slipping through. The operations we just watched are precise, brutal, and nearly flawless, but they're only a fraction of the total trafficking volume. The ocean is vast, and the game never stops. New boats, new crews, and new calculations keep the cycle turning. What keeps the smugglers awake at night isn't the loss of a single vessel, but the certainty that enforcement is waiting. Every algorithm, every aircraft, every round fired teaches the same lesson. The ocean has rules, and physics always wins. For the Coast Guard, the mission continues without fanfare. Helicopters return to base, rifles are cleaned, and new alerts light up the screens. The chase doesn't end, it resets. And while the cartels recalculate, the pattern remains. They run, the Coast Guard intercepts, and the consequences ripple across continents. In the end, the story isn't just about a boat or a helicopter. It's about inevitability. The laws of motion, the mathematics of risk, the quiet precision of enforcement, all colliding in a single unstoppable strike. They run. Physics doesn't negotiate, and the ocean always keeps score. The ocean never stops, and neither does the story. Subscribe and hit the bell to follow every high-stakes mission you won't see anywhere else.